Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Like many of you, I love me a good Telecaster and have owned many a fine old Tele over the years. Among those variations, I always had a soft spot in my heart for this, Yamaha's take on the Telecaster. A friend of mine had one of these years ago in my mid-90s high school band days, and I remember really liking the look and feel of it. So of course one came up recently online for sale locally, and I seized on it right away. Nostalgia got a hold of me, folks. What can I say? Kind of like Hogan versus The Rock at WrestleMania in 2002. I just knew I had to get it to experience the magic all over again. So what is this guitar? Well folks, this is the Yamaha Pacifica 102S. These are made in Taiwan for a fairly limited time from about 1995 to 2000. Bolt-on neck Tele, of course, with the standard 1 volume, 1 tone, and 3-way switch controls. This came in 3 colors: gloss black, natural satin, and a brown satin, which is the one you see here. Now the body on these was made of alder. It's a 3-piece body with a thickness of almost 45 millimeters, so pretty much on par with the Fender standard 46 millimeter body. On top, this has a 22 fret maple neck with a gloss urethane of sorts, and the fretboard on these was bubinga. The bubinga wood, of course, comes from the bubinga tree, so named because it's a big bushy tree that people jump out of and scare others by yelling bubinga. Then, of course, they take those jump scares to Instagram, and you get a whole bunch of scaring my roommate by jumping from the bubinga tree compilations that go viral for... actually, bubinga is very stable hardwood that's similar to rosewood. It's said to be very resistant to moisture, so definitely was a great choice for this guitar. Other interesting things about this guitar has a belly cut, as you can see here. It was quite some time before Fender was doing the same on any entry-level models, so that was a great add. Bit of a pioneering step, as they say. Now on the pickups, these are ceramic, but not the standard, 6K bridge you expect. This bridge actually clocks in at about 8K, or a little more than that. It actually sounds pretty full. In the context of the time, I think a lot of bands of the late grunge era, you think like Mudhoney, combined with what was a huge reemergence of pop punk at the time, bands like Green Day, Pennywise, NoFX, and so on. It makes sense that a lot of manufacturers, well, the Yamaha included, would go for that overwound bridge pickup just to kind of bring the noise, as they say. Now, the one drop off on this guitar is also the pickups. The neck pickup on this is really uninspiring, and it clocks in at about half the value of the bridge and really doesn't have a lot of life to it. It's almost like they designed this whole guitar around that super overwound bridge pickup, and we're just like, well, it's a Tele, so we might as well throw it in that box of weak, pathetic neck pickups over there that the Squier factory threw away and no other company in the world will touch. Obviously, they just assumed in most mid-90s high school noise rock bands that the neck pickup would never get used. So just short of tearing out that neck pickup, there is one thing I think that we can do to give this neck pickup a little boost before going to a demo, and I think I've got just the mod to make that happen. So to make that happen, let's get down to the bench and get busy. I'll see you at the table. So to kick things off, check out the control cavity here. Usual dime-sized pots and standard wiring, as has been the standard in budget guitars for so many years, but of course housed in the classic well-routed Yamaha cavity. Small 500K alpha for the volume pot, not the usual 250K you'd see with Tele single coils, and yet a 250K pot used for the tone. Probably did this to account for having an overwound bridge. Yamaha was just focused on younger players here, probably getting as much off that bridge pickup at full volume as possible. But for this guitar, after nearly 30 years, these pots are kind of done and need to be replaced, as you can see here. And under the pick guard, you can see the cheap ceramic neck pickup, and this switch has also had a lot of use over the years, and again, cheap import switch, which after 30 years is starting to short out and pretty much toast as well. Shot of the neck cavity here, again traditionally smooth Yamaha routing, which is always nice to see. Now to get that neck pickup sounding a bit less dull, let's yank off the cover first. After bending back the tabs, You just want to take a very flat screwdriver, just using this blade for demonstration purposes only. Rest it on the bottom of the bobbin and push up as firmly as possible, keeping your distance from the coils, of course, to slowly separate the top from the pickup, especially if it's glued on like this one. That's probably a good idea to get any remaining glue or debris from the pole pieces. Just want to have as clean a surface as possible to pick up your string vibrations. Of course, just doing a half-assed job here, but you get the picture. Now with this one, like many cheaper neck pickups, this had a separate bare ground which originally went to the pickup cover, so I've cut a piece of stainless steel, in this case out of a cake pan, that had holes in it, and I'll just solder this all up for a nice bottom plate. Now onto the mod. It's kind of an adaptation of this particular strap wiring diagram here. You see it from Lone Phantom, which I'll link to in the description, except taking the standard bridge blower mod and applying it to the neck in a tele wiring scheme. We're going to use a 500K push-pull volume pot here, a 250K tone pot, and a Fender mechanical switch. So standard tele wiring to begin with, but make sure you first put a jumper between the top two positions on the push-pull switch as seen here. And instead of the volume center lug going to the output jack, position D on the switch goes there. Then the opposite position on the switch, in this case A, goes to where your neck pickup would normally wire to on the three-way switch. Then your neck pickup goes to the position below that, in this case position B, and this soldering job is starting to look like the elephant's foot at Chernobyl. And that's where my trusty old Sony camera finally lost focus for last time and died. Rest in peace, Sony camera. As the old song goes, there's going to be a heartache tonight. Anyways, last position E in this case goes to your hot output. So here's the final deal. I replaced the original knobs with chrome telly style knobs. You can see as the classic Fender bell hat style knobs can sometimes make it hard to use push-pull pot, but otherwise there you have it. Anyways, on to a quick and dirty demo to see how this old beaut performs. So there it is, folks, this great little Yamaha, now vintage Yamaha Telecaster style guitar. 1997, my how time flies. This guitar is older than most YouTubers, and that makes me positively ancient. Anyways, Definitely a nice old guitar, and as they say, a perfect pawn shop special. If you find one at your local shop or on Marketplace or wherever, you should definitely consider sitting down and giving it a play. Just give it a spin, you know, assuming the neck is straight and the truss rod is fine and so on. Really nice guitar to pick up, which you should be able to nab for a couple $100s or less. Just make sure you get it for the right price, of course. You could technically call this a vintage guitar due to its age, but you know, they're not really rare guitars, so you know, just avoid any shyster who tries to sell you one and demands $400, your entire collection of Boxcar Willie records, and a lewd video of you dancing the Charleston while reciting the lost Constitution of Afghanistan. And if you think that scenario is far-fetched, just wait until it happens to you. Now as for the mod, the blower mod is a great way to brighten up a somewhat weak and dull sounding neck pickup. It's somewhat subtle. As you heard in the demo, you don't suddenly get a massive boost, like it won't blow your pants off and leave you walking around dazed and nude at your next jam session, but nonetheless it provides a bit more clarity and a slight output boost, and of course with the mod you're bypassing all controls and going straight to switch, so definitely a good option if you've got $5 for a cheap push-pull pot and a soldering iron handy. Keep in mind too the way this neck mod is done. Pulling up on the pot gives you the regular three-way controls, and the three-way controls there, I couldn't even find it. And pushing down gives you the neck direct to switch. So kind of cool if you're doing a solo and want to quickly push a pot down instead of having to pull it up. For example, if you want to go straight from the bridge to your full neck, as you saw in the demo, you can quickly do that with a push down instead of having to move the switch. Now, of course, with the right set of pickups, that blower mod is going to sound a bit more effective. I'm not going to sit here and lie and argue that these pickups were really good. To be honest, as much as this is a nostalgia guitar for me, these pickups were pretty much what I mentioned at the start of the video and pretty much what I remembered from my high school days when my buddy had this particular guitar. It's really a poorly matched set of ceramics where the whole design seems to have been centered around an overwound bridge with the accent on output and noise, not tone. But, you know, that's kind of the way a lot of guitars were marketed at the time. And in general, even cheap ceramic telly pickups today, in my opinion, are just made better than these. And of course, we live in the era where a cheap set of ceramic replacements is really just an Amazon click away. Anyhow, that's all I got, guys. A great guitar to take a trip down memory lane from my youth, a neat mod, and a nice little venture into nostalgia. What more could a guy ask for? Always great to find a guitar you remember fondly from when you were youngin', and this one definitely didn't disappoint. Except for the pickups, which I'm definitely going to rip out and throw in the garbage right after this video. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and so on and so forth. Keep on playing, and keep watching the channel for a whole lot more.